is the Rope-A-Dope Radio Podcast. I am your host, Chris Carlson. We're live, per usual, 6 on the West, 9 on the East, and 2 UK time. Boy, do we have a show jam-packed for you. Now, it's not going to be as jam-packed as yesterday's The Boxing Voice show. That's for damn sure, and big shots out. I want to say that right away, theboxingvoice.com. Of course, the Boxing Voice podcast in general. Check it out all over the place. They're also on Patreon. They had Deontay Wilder. Then they had Eddie Hearn. Then they had Shelly Finkel, Wilder's manager. And then they had Tyson Fury to close it out. So shouts out to theboxingvoice.com, the Boxing Voice podcast. I'll tell you what, man, they are the hardest working podcast outlet, boxing outlet out there. Anyway, we got to start the show, of course, in Brooklyn. Deontay Wilder gets the knockout, the brutal knockout of Stavern. We'll cover Porter Granados as well. Lipinets as well was on that card. And we'll breeze across some of those Matchroom, Sky Sports, HBO cards because, you know, there just wasn't a whole lot there, to be honest with you, but we'll cover it. We'll cover it. Of course, we got to look towards this weekend. Daniel Jacobs makes his return to the ring against Luis Arias. Unbeaten fighter. Should be interesting. Big Baby Miller will be on the undercard as well. ESPN has an interesting card. I mean, Better Biev should take care of business. It's really just aligning himself up for a big fight. You know, injuries and politics and just people not wanting to fight him. It's been a rough one for Better Biev these last couple of years, but it looks like he's on pace now. I know he's had some politics or some promoter issues as well. Jose Ramirez, though, against Yes Indeed Reed. I'm looking forward to that fight. I like that fight. And from the UK Box Nation, Liam Williams versus Liam Smith, the rematch. Looking forward to that as well. Showbox is always something to take note of, that's for sure. And, of course, if this is your first time listening, maybe you're, listening on your phone. Maybe you're listening here at blogtalkradio.com/Rope-A-Dope Radio. You can listen live, as I mentioned. It also archives. Other places, of course, to check out the Rope-A-Dope Radio podcast show. We got Apple Podcasts, right? Basically iTunes. You can rate and review the show there. That would be great. Phenomenal. It really helps out the show. So I appreciate that. Also, Player FM is a great source for boxing podcasts. You can definitely check out the show there. Tune in, Stitcher, and just a variety of other outlets where the podcast is available. We also do a college football that turns into college basketball and NBA playoffs later. It's called the College Ball Show. If you are wondering what that weekly show is, that is, for those who are interested in football or basketball. Anyway, we will cover some news as well. Lipinets coming off a nice little victory for him. There's some pretty solid rumors about his next opponent. So we'll get into that. And we'll get into some other news. We actually have some late breaking news on the Garcia Linares talks that we'll update you on. We'll look at some other news out there as far as Stevenson, Alvarez, Bivol, Badu Jack. Interesting stuff to say the least. So stay with us on that. It's really been kind of a crazy situation there. That's for damn sure. Alvarez, obviously, he wants his shot. He's been the mandatory for quite some time. He's gotten some step-aside money. He got a chance to fight in over the hill Butte. Not, in his last fight, wasn't it? Yeah, it was his last fight. So there's some wheeling and dealing. There is some wheeling and dealing going on there. So we'll see. We'll see exactly how that goes. But as I said, we'll cover this weekend. It's a busy weekend, and basically, man, after this weekend, we do have a pretty nonchalant, random rest of November. Now December sparks up with a couple of good fights, so definitely looking forward to that. But yeah, the rest of the November, usually mid to late November, there's some really good fights. But it is what it is. We've been spoiled this year, no doubt about it. So we just got to deal with it, right, guys and gals? I don't want to, forget the gals. That's for damn sure. Anyway, we are live streaming on YouTube as well. For those who catch up with that stream, I'll be doing just basically my intro, which lasts quite a while before I get to the callers. So I'll just be doing a good 40 minutes or so, hour or something like that on YouTube. The number to call is 646-381-4990. You can, pick up your kid at soccer practice. You can go grocery shopping, take us with you on your phone, listen in, especially when it's past the 2-hour live stream. Maybe you're stuck in traffic. 646-381-4990. But the YouTube stream, there is a link in there so you can listen to the live broadcast. And, if it's a couple days after the broadcast, you're listening on archive, there's a link of the full episode inside there regardless. So, like I said, recap, news, and then we will also kind of blend in the weekend as well. Because, like I said, it's a pretty interesting weekend, I'd say. I think it's definitely got some interesting things to it. I'd say, the Ramirez-Reed fight, I like that because of where these guys are in their career. It's a nice step up for both of them. And I'm always a fan of step-up fights. Well, unless they're obviously way too far of a step up or something like that. It's a little different, right? But, and also that Liam Williams-Liam Smith fight. I actually am very much so looking towards that. I like that fight a lot, actually. I think that'd be interesting. And I'm basing it, off of the I'm completely basing it, of course, off of the God. What the hell's going on there? Okay, sorry about that. I'm basically I'm going off the first fight because the first fight was a very, very, very fun fight. I enjoyed it thoroughly. The fight got stopped due to injury, so we'll definitely break that fight down, no doubt about it, man, because I'm looking forward to that rematch. Definitely looking forward to that rematch. Big shots out to the UK. As always, it seems like they always got some sort of event going on over there, that's for sure. And, well, let's start. I just want to make sure everything's okay. We're good to go. Why don't we start, obviously, with some recap? And what better way to start the recap than the actual fight, right? The Wilder-Stavern fight that, of course, we all weren't really looking forward to. I wouldn't necessarily say all that, right? I mean, it wasn't something that we were looking forward to, but it was a necessary evil, as I labeled my article last week, the blog, prediction blog. So there's not a whole lot to, break down when it comes to this. There really isn't. Wilder came out with they even said it on the broadcast, the snappy jab. And it was a snappy jab. He started to land the right hands a little bit in there in the first 2 minutes. I mean, what did Stavern throw? 4 punches? Is that what the compy box said? 0 for 4? Said something like that? I'll say this, without really landing anything or throwing much of anything, he did manage to start to I'm not going to say corner Wilder, but it's in that realm. He did start to come forward with his footwork a little bit more than, an actual punch that was, putting him back. But there was a jab right hand, a 1-2 that went right through the guard. The right hand did. The jab blinded Stavern, and the right hand came just perfect. And maybe watching it live, you're like, oh, dude, it's like the first good combination. He's already on the mat. But when you see the replay, you can tell how hard he hit him. Because, they always say tuck your chin in, but sometimes you get hit so perfectly on the chin that your chin actually tucks in too much, right? So your whole neck and your chin kind of gets buckled in, basically try to touch your, put your neck or your chin and your neck down, and you can really see it kind of reverb through his whole neck in his chin. So definitely a solid first knockdown. Then the second one were kind of some looping shots. One of them hit the guard, but kind of like Matisse against Peterson, it shows how much power he has because, he's knocking him down with a half block shot. So the second knockdown was kind of like whatever. Even on that first knockdown, though, Stavern's like, oh, he hit me behind my head, dude. It was behind the head. It's like, it went through your guard, dog. Like through it, not around it. Like, come on, man. It was so weird. And, if you look at this, first of all, I want to say I was wrong about him taking this fight serious. I was wrong. I thought, he'd had all these months to maybe get the fight, maybe not. But either way, he got to, like, sit there and, like, drag out these negotiations. And so I assumed that, hey, in that time you can get ready. But 254, he said he had like a big breakfast or something. But that must have been some serious breakfast there because he came on the scale at 254. So anyway, we can make fun of him for that. We can give him shit for that. It's totally rightfully so. But he wasn't dehydrated this time. I'll give him credit, though, for getting up. Because even on that first shot, by the time the second shot, he actually did get hit pretty hard, though, in the second shot. Not as much as the first. But then there was like a left hand, right hand, and then a left hook in there. Couple of 2-3 shots in there. He was on the ropes. He was basically out on the ropes, right? He was kind of jammed on the ropes, got caught with like 3 shots, and he was out. He was on the lower rope, taking a little nap. He got up a little bit, fell forward, then tried to get up. He managed to get, and that's why I'm saying we got to give him a little credit, because he did manage to get all the way to his feet, which is kind of impressive, I'd say. I think that's a little impressive. I mean, I know a lot of people, don't want to give him any credit, but he did, he did at least try to keep fighting. Although, you can make an argument that his actual fight, his fighting spirit was kind of half-assed, to say the least. But anyway, really, really grabbed a lot of people, though. It had considering what the fight was, people not really wanting to see it. He definitely had a nice crowd. They almost got to 11,000 in attendance, so that probably means a good solid chunk of tickets were sold to go along with the the comps. And it is kind of funny how certain parts of the media, which then in turn makes it certain parts of the fan base, will always just believe it with fact or not on how many tickets were sold or whatever. And always saying it's papered and whatnot when it comes to the PBC. Like I said, if you look at the stats, though, from all shows, you'll find that pretty much everything out there has, every event has those papered events. Now, just when you say, I shouldn't say papered, because when you say papered, that really implies, a whole lot more at that point, because papering is literally just a whole, like, basically the stadium giveaway. They sold 3,000, and the rest were giveaways. I don't have the official numbers. I'm just saying that you see that a lot. Either way, though, I was happy crowd size wise, that's for sure. Especially on a fight that you didn't, a lot of people obviously didn't want to see because of what had happened. If you look at the nice wave at the start, though, of tickets, when it actually was Ortiz, I believe that they could have really had a big night there. But you still had a nice little night, though. Let's not act like that's something to throw shade at or whatever. It is kind of funny though. It's all about it's all relative to what to what's normal, and some UK fans and US fans are kind of battling back and forth talking about ratings from Joshua and afternoon stuff compared to a night prime time. Both had a ton of competition anyway, if you look at it. Obviously, during the day, they don't do as well as they do in prime time. And then, so you say, well, look, Wilder got a way better rating, at night, which he did. They got probably their second or third biggest rating of the year for Showtime. Very successful. And then but then again, you got people saying, well, they only had not even 11,000 people, whereas they had 78, so it's just back and forth. And, for America, 10,000 people in the fans in the crowd is good. It's very good. In fact, if most of the cards on HBO and ESPN and Showtime and all that, they all had 10,000, that would be sweet. There's just a lot more competition. And boxing is at times breaks out and gets featured, in the major mainstream, but there's just so much competition through pro sports and just so many pro sports inside of the arena all year long that it's even hard to book some arenas. But anyway, I think it is fun to see some back and forth between the Brits and the United States when it comes to this Wilder fight. Pretty funny. But yeah, it did have a nice peak. And obviously it didn't last long, right? Because the fight itself didn't last long. It could have peaked. I mean, the way it was going, it could have peaked maybe even at 1 million if it would have even went 4 or 5 rounds. But it did peak at 887. The main event averaged 824. The whole card averaged 567, which is up about 150,000 from the last show. And that's almost a 3-hour card, too, carrying that average. The last 2, actually. So sometimes you can't just look at the actual average. You got to look at the average of the main event and, when people tune in and whatnot. But very good showings. And when you look at Showtime, we always got to put in there that a lot of people watch fights on their app, Showtime app. They'll sign up for maybe a 30-day free trial if they see something on social media and they just want to go into a fight type of thing, and had 2 good fights before it too. So you could tell that social media definitely was behind it to an extent, considering, the college football, huge games in that. And then GSP actually made his return. So, and also on Hulu Plus, they live stream the Showtime fights, and there's a fair amount of Showtime subscribers on there that are into that. And Hulu Plus now actually has, I think it's 50 or 60 channels, live streaming channels. So I think it's very inexpensive compared to normal cable. You could try it out for a free trial, give it a try. Anyway, overall, though, if you look at the Showtime clips and how many people watched that of the knockout, if you look at it, got on SportsCenter, it got on a variety of Monday and Tuesday shows, sports shows. Just on social media alone, as I mentioned, the amount of live videos. There was even a couple live videos in the crowd where people were watching it, and I haven't even looked to see as far as people watching the whole fight or whatever. Not that it was only a 3-minute fight. So anyway, Wilder needed to make a statement. He hadn't fought in a while. He'd been dealing with injuries and PD problems from his opponents. It was a big deal. And do yourself a favor and listen to that episode where Deontay Wilder and Eddie Hearn and Shelly Finkel and then Tyson Fury are all together on the Boxing Boys. Check it out. You can check it out on podcast form, or you can just go right to YouTube, and check it out too. You should. It's really interesting hearing all the stuff there, and it does sound like tomorrow they will be talking about the fight. But it does seem like both the guys, Wilder and Joshua, have plans, as we've talked about many times on the show. They have plans set out. That's what it looks like to me. You know what I mean? That's what it looks like to me. They already have a spring, not all the way figured out, but pretty damn close. And so I don't know. I don't know what to expect. I expect a summer fight. Although I heard that Wembley's not going to be available in the summer, and they'd have to do a smaller arena there. We'll see, though. Not really sure exactly. It's not like I have the Wembley Stadium on speed dial. I got to work on that. But you never know. Vegas may stand up and outbid everybody as it wants to do. And I'm speaking of Vegas, right? So anyway, really solid statement, because that's exactly what it was. Great statement by Deontay Wilder. Needed to get this big win right now. Needed it, obviously. So, and like I said, he reverbed through so many different types of shows and whatnot, and whether it's hip hop or whether it's sports shows, or everybody kind of had like a they had an opinion on it, or like, wow, this dude, or that type of thing. So either way, it was a win-win. It drew some attention, especially, like I said, on a busy sports night. So that's always a good thing, right? So, yeah, I think mission accomplished. And now he's good to go, Now he's good to go for quite some time. And he doesn't have to he doesn't have a mandatory. A lot of people freaking out over hearing that, Brazil now is the mandatory. But he doesn't have to fight any mandatory for like a year anyway. That's not to say, though, that, that fight won't happen, because that actually is a good in-between fight. And they have that backstory that they could get a little hyped, for people because of the hotel incident. And by the way, a lot of people are kind of ignorant to that situation. And it's all good, but a lot of people don't realize that case actually was dismissed. Now, that's not to say, so you guys know what the hell you're talking about, and I wasn't there, so I don't know. Maybe, who knows? Maybe, just maybe, there was a settlement. You never know. So, and I'm not saying, for sure it was a settlement. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that what I do know is the case got dismissed. So a lot of people I've noticed kind of saying stuff like, well, they still got to figure that out. It's like, they actually don't. They don't have to figure it out because it's already been figured out. So anyway, let's see here. I just realized something, and I want to make sure it's all good. So the next fight that we'll break down, right, is the Porter Granados fight, which I was anticipating, and I think it lived up beyond the last couple rounds, right? Beyond the last couple rounds, of course. But I think it lived up to a pretty good fight. If it wasn't for the last couple rounds, I think people would have a different mentality. And, it's kind of weird with Porter, because a couple years back, when he just brutalized Devin Alexander, a still respected Devin Alexander at that point, not to say that he's not respected at all, but you know what I mean. And he just walked through the dude. Then we saw what he did with Paulie, and to me, I think it's because they were just brutalizing shots or, I mean, what he did to Paulie. A lot of people were very excited about him. Lots of people were like, yeah, dude, And even with that Porter-Broner fight where Broner really didn't want to release all of his offense because he thought he'd get tired, and he didn't seem like he wanted to dig deep to try to win that. And so it was a slower fight than I thought it would be. There were a couple moments. Obviously, that Thurman fight was really, entertaining. But a lot of people are just down on Porter because of his grimy, mauling type, fighting style. And he's basically had this the whole time. I guess that's why I'm a little like, maybe it's because some fighters that they do like, maybe because he, mauled them and they don't like him because he mauled them or whatever. Now, I don't know. There is some of that. Sometimes when you do it to your favorite fighter, people all of a sudden, are like, oh, that dude's dirty, but before you were like, singing his praise or whatever. So who knows, you know what I mean, when it comes to that. But, that is kind of the thing. They like his personality. They like his work ethic. They like how he wants to fight everybody. He's basically like not going to say the perfect fighter, but a perfect, like a really, like you think most people would be behind this guy, right? He wants to fight everybody. He wants to stay active. Him and his pops do a good job of keeping his name out there. And I don't say for whatever reason, because we know the reason, but it just seems like there's been dirtier fighters in the past than this guy, And that's not to say he's not rough and dirty, and because he is. But I think he's had this style for so long. It's just kind of funny that the last year or two, people are like, I don't even want to see him anymore. It's like, all right, but I mean, what was he doing that you liked? I don't know, And he has faced some popular fighters, Broner and Thurman. So maybe some of that is just guys liking the fighter, and they like Broner or they like Thurman more, so they think, he made it ugly. I don't like watching him. And to each his own. I happen to like a variety of styles. To each his own, though. I like this. I like his style because it's consistent, and actually he mixed it up a little bit this time. He actually mixed it up a tad. This was a good fight, though. I thought that you could actually see him move a little bit, and he was countering with his left hand a little bit. They were both moving. They were both being aggressive. And at some point, somewhere near after a handful of rounds, I'd say, somewhere in the middle point, then you could see Porter kind of say, all right, I'm just going to go forward now. Like all that other stuff, at times I'll do that, but I'm going to push more forward and get into that mauling style that he's so obviously very good at. And they kind of got into it right away. There was a couple of headbutts, obviously. I think an overhand right kind of late in the round stole that first round. He was getting to the body pretty well, was Porter. Another late right hand in the second round. Close third and fourth round, I thought. Just a tad busier, better shots by Porter. But you could see Granados would always kind of answer back. You know what I mean? Flurry back. You'd always try to get back into the fight. Or maybe not just in the fight, but, in that round to kind of like say, all right, you got something on me. But, there was a moment in the fourth round, though. There was like a nice hook, some good jabs early. Maybe the last, 67 seconds. Something like that, 60 or 70 seconds. Porter landed a big shot on the ropes. And he actually he got hit with a good shot. And then he got kind of put into the corner as well. So I'd say like 3-1, 4-0 after four for Porter. Great round, the fifth round. I just thought that, I don't know. Porter was steadier through the round, but man, big overhand right. Crowd really, it was funny. He actually, that's the round where his mom in the crowd, Granados, was talking to him. and he's saying stuff to her, and then he just gets hit with a flush right hand. It's kind of funny. The problem, I liked Granado's showmanship, but there's showmanship, and then there's hot dogging, and then there's just clowning, and that's cool. I'm cool with all of them, but I think you gotta implement them at the right times. And when it's a fight that you're losing on the cards at the time, and you're already the B side clearly, you're already not being able to get 140 fights, so you're just saying, hey, I'll take these opportunities at 147. I think you can't really. I think you're playing with fire when you're messing around too much, because at some point you're like, all right, dude, but you got to land in there too, and you can't. There were some punches that would land on him, and he would shake him off, or he'd say, oh, no, 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 and then come back and stuff. And it was like, all right, that's cool, but like I said, you got to at least be tied in the fight or winning to clown. I think, you know what I mean. I thought it was a little bit. I don't mind showboating. But if you're not winning the fight, I kind of feel like it's kind of like, well, dude, you have something to do with that. However, Granados, though, by the 6th round, landed a great right hand early in the round. More right hands, better punches overall. Porter was busy, but he didn't, not to me, not enough. I don't know. You could see Granados making minor adjustments here and there. But I thought the overhand rights kind of started doing some damage anyway to Granados. 8th round. When Granados was landing, once again, it was clean, but it just not enough for me anyway. Hooks had him on the ropes actually in the 9th round. Nice hooks landing. Great two-way round in the 10th. Exchanges maybe the last 90 seconds or so. Basically the half. I'd say, I don't know. That's another one where you look at Granados, you go, man, maybe I give that to Granados, But then throughout the whole round, the more consistent was Porter. So it's kind of in between there. But the last 2 rounds I thought were clearly Granados. He was being the aggressor. I thought maybe there was a replay for Porter. We now found out that he broke his hand. Broke his hand somewhere in the 6th round, he said. And then it really started hurting more in the 10th, 11th, 12th. You could tell. But I thought it was maybe his eye, because he took that little minute, that half a break, and it looked like he had got hit in the eye with an elbow a little bit, the way he was kind of shaking it off. I kind of thought, I figured something was up with him, though. You could tell, because he just wasn't being himself, and he's not the type to run the last couple of rounds, you know what I mean, or just not be, the aggressor. And here, Porter, and he started holding a lot too. And now the crowd's booing and hissing and all that. And it's like, it was a weird ending to a fun fight, I thought. But he was running and holding and all that. So I had it about 9-3. Maybe you could go 8-4 for Porter. 9-3, 8-4. I thought he got the job done. Granados landed 166 on 680, 24% landing there, and then 209. So it was 209 to 166, a clear, decisive punch count to 583, 36%. So he's definitely more accurate. But yeah, I guess by the 6th or 7th round, he had hurt his hand. He said he couldn't throw it as much. Kept throwing it here and there, but then all of a sudden he said it really started hurting him. So last couple rounds, that's weird. That's never happened to him. I thought that was a little strange anyway. You just hear that, it's such a common thing for that to happen. So I don't know. It was a surprise that hadn't happened. Maybe he just doesn't remember or something, because that's happened to most people. Well, I say break my hand. We don't even know really what actually happened to his hand, though, per se, just yet. I haven't heard, I haven't heard much from him saying, oh, this is, it's going to have, 4 months rehab or whatever. But he did say, because he's got a rest, that it's better for him to, just wait for Thurman, basically a Thurman fight. But we'll see, man. We'll see how that turns out, because as we know, you can be the mandatory, but the mandatory hasn't been called yet, like as far as the official timing on it, and we know unifications can supersede that. So we'll see. But I thought it was a good performance by Porter. I like his style. I think if you go back to the black and white TV stuff and you look at all those old fights, and a lot of it was inside the pocket, a lot of it was mugging, and a lot of it was rabbit punching, and it was just rough stuff. That's how boxing used to be all the time, for the most part. I mean, most styles were like that. So I kind of like that throwback bulldog, the throwback bulldog type of fight. It's entertaining. It's rough. It really shows me, a lot about the opponent that can contain that to an extent sometimes and catch him on the way in, like Thurman did and others do. But good performance, I thought. Good performance by Granados, but here's the thing. Granados, to me, came across as much the way Gabriel Rosado did. And I'm pointing out Gabe because I remember, I think it was with the Charlos, he had gotten beat clean. And, of course, after the fight, he was like, well, it's like I got to fight a certain way to win a fight. I can't box, so this is bullshit. So it just sucks. And it's like, well, all right, dude, like, no offense, but come on, dude. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't win that fight. And that's kind of how I felt with Granados. He says, everybody knows I won the fight. And when he started talking after, the crowd was booing him because he didn't win the fight. Now, he's been wronged in the past. I thought Broner did enough. It was a tight fight. But if you count it round by round, not just maybe Broner struggling more than you thought, because a lot of people, that's the thing with Granados. He doesn't get a lot of respect at times until he fights better than expected. Then it's like, well, he probably beat Broner. It's like, well, he didn't beat him, but it was a good fight. This was an entertaining fight. I did think he got a little too flashy, considering he wasn't winning the fight. I think he should have focused on work rate and just being more effective in the ring rather than blowing off all these punches as if they didn't hurt or whatever. Saying hi to your mom or whatever. No, I'm just kidding. I actually like that part. But anyway, good performance by Porter. Hopefully Granados, now that there's so many belts available or going to be available as far as a mandatory position down the line here. A lot of times those mandos can get called early when you have interim belts that were just, vacated and you got two dudes fighting for it rather than someone actually having the belt. A lot of times they make you do that. They made Charlo do that. Jermel Charlo. He had to get two mandos out of the way. That's the first thing he had to do because there's an interim belt that he fought for in May 2016. So anyway, let's get to that Lipinets and Kondo fight. Is it Kondo or Kondo? Anyway, I thought Kondo, I don't think it was that big of a surprise to me as far as him fighting hard. I did, however, think that I knew he was going to be tough because of the stereotypical, but definitely true, thing with Japanese fighters and how tough they are. But I didn't know it would be this close of a fight round by round, which I thought it was. And this was a very good test and a test that Lipinets needed. He needed to go the distance. He needed to go a full 12 rounds. He needed to try a couple different ways to win. And I thought he did a pretty good job at that. Now, the first 4 rounds I gave all to Lipinets. I thought he had a jab going. He usually got good starts to the rounds. He'd land good body shots, kind of one at a time, body shots to the right hand of the body. By the third round, Kondo his nose was bleeding pretty good. Right hands to the body, like I mentioned, really I thought started taking their toll a little bit. In the 5th round, though, I think Kondo landed a really nice left hand and then flurried after that. I thought that was his first round he won, and just because of that. 6th round could have went either way. The fight was definitely getting tighter. Lipinets was cutting that round as well, I believe. And then I gave him the next couple of rounds after that. The 7th round, I thought a right hand in the last 30 seconds or so could have stole it for him. Lipinets was busier, but it was kind of like one shot at a time, and they just weren't that clean per se. They were more scoring, but they weren't bigger than what Kondo's right hands was, in my opinion. I thought he landed the better, a nice short shot, actually. Short right hands. Several exchanges in that 8th round. Now, Lipinets, like I mentioned, he managed to get some hooks in and still jabbing, but just not enough. Better shots landed in the 9th as well. And then finally, I thought Lipinets, the last part of the fight, started moving a little bit better. He was a little busier. So he's, keep flicking that jab, but then it seemed like he was getting back to the body and just being a tad more busier, kind of stick and move as well. Case in point, the 11th round, early right hand by Kondo, but to me, he just wasn't busy enough. His output, his activity just dropped off. Whereas, just a more consistent jab, stick and move approach by Lipinets, same thing, with the 12th round, just busier, just not enough. I mean, last part of that 12th round was some back and forth, and he picked up the pace a little bit, did Kondo, but just not enough. One scorecard was really wide. The other one was still probably too wide, in my opinion. Or it was. I mean, you're looking at a 10-2 in a 9-3. For some reason, I thought it was a 116. But yeah, one judge had it 118, 110, way too wide. And then 117, 111. I think it was pretty easy to see 7th, 8th, and 9th. Those are clear rounds for Kondo. So then you're telling me you can't give him another one somewhere in there? The 117, 111. So a little wide. They did get the right person, though. So that helps, right? That does help. The punch stats, I had it about 7-5, 7-4-1. I did have Lipinets recovering those last couple rounds from a nice run by Kondo of like 6 rounds in the middle of the rounds. Actually, from like 5th to 9th, you could make an argument he won every round. But I think Lipinets won the 6th though. But either way, Lipinets landed 173 to Kondo's 140, 621, so a little bit more active to 567, tad more percentage-wise accurate. 28-25 was Lipinets, so he got a nice win. And we might as well kind of just keep going before we go to news. I do have some news with Lipinets, but we won't get too deep into that at the moment. As far as the HBO card goes, Dmitry Bivol took on Trent Broadhurst, who, this was going to be an easy. Didn't they already make him like interim title? And then this was a defense of it? Or was this the interim title? I don't remember, because I know it changed. I can't remember how that worked, but I believe Bivol was made a champion before even fighting. I'm pretty sure that's how it tweaked out. But either way, he's now a titleist. Probably a minute in, big left hand knocked him down. Flush, hard shots. Flush shots to the head, hard shots to the body, a jab, a couple more rights, and then the right hand knocked him out. It was over. First round knockout, Dmitry Bivol. And we will update you on a couple of these fighters. I mentioned Lipinets, got some news on him, and also Bivol. We got a little weird situation going on between 4 fighters, but you know what? It may turn out to be better for all of them, I guess, except one. But the potential for Alvarez, and I'll get into it in just a little bit, the potential for Alvarez, though, it's kind of an intriguing deal for him. Kind of sucks if he doesn't win this certain fight, which, it's going to be tough for him. But if he does, the prize is a huge, huge check, and also then a forced mandatory. Although I don't know. I don't know if you can actually say that, but I think if you put it in enough contracts, it'll get figured out that way. Jamie McDonald versus Solis. What is it? Librero? Solis? The rematch. Only lasted 3 rounds, unfortunately. Looked like another good fight. I don't know who won the first round. I thought Solis had a good start. He was kind of forcing him to the ropes for a moment, McDowell. Jamie, though, seemed to work his way out work his way into that round, I should say. So I'd probably give the first one to Solis. Yeah, I think so. McDowell came out with a good jab. Did have a bloody nose all of a sudden, though, too. Solis landed a few good shots as well in that second round. The last probably 75 seconds or so. Good exchanges. But yeah, that nose was bloodied up pretty good. And then all of a sudden, an early clash of heads in the third round caused a cut. I believe it was the left eye on McDowell. It was bleeding bad right away. So they looked at it, let him fight for a little bit. Then looked at it. It was like, I don't know. In the meantime, though, McDowell did land jabs and a few right hands. And then when they looked, they decided to let it go again. Then all of a sudden he started just bringing the right hands. He was like, screw it, man. I'm going to go for the knockout all of a sudden. And they saw it, and it basically turned into they got to stop the fight. A no contest. So that does suck. Beyond those moments, though, I do think Solis was winning the fight. Beyond those little moments here and there. But I thought Solis was winning the fight, but you're looking at the third round. So that does suck, though. That does suck. A lot of people thought Solis won the first fight. That was the whole rematch thing, and now it's kind of left, not kind of, it's left in the air. And that Bivol rating, not a big surprise. I mean, it's kind of weird because we didn't even get the Solis McDonald. I thought it was a double header. But it was weird because they're in this, like, in Monaco, they have really small arenas for rich people. It was like a ballroom, actually. And it's just a weird setup in Monaco, but it makes sense because they give you money. You get a fee there. It's much like Vegas, small events, but even more money. So they just say, whatever, because Monaco is a very expensive place to live, wealthy place. So anyway, I believe that was their lowest rating of the year. Not a big surprise. It was like 336 or some shit like that, whatever. Totally, kind of thrown together type stuff. A lot of this stuff because HBO had extra money. At the end of the year, a lot of it's just filler. They're just filling up stuff. Now, some of it's been good. I like some of the fights they have later. Obviously, I like this weekend, but a lot of it's been filler. Kind of reminds me of the end of 2014, September, October, November, December for Showtime, when it's like, yeah, they had stuff on, plenty of it, but it was just kind of filler. It's just kind of filler. So, there is what else did I have? I had Scott Quigg back in action, scored a TKO, 6th round. Luis Neri actually scored a nice knockout. What was that? I think that was a TKO over Arturo Villanueva, junior featherweight. I believe that was in Mexico. There was something else, though. What else was I gonna... there was another fight. I can't remember. Anyway, it'll probably come to me. But that about wraps up Oh, Ryan Garcia had a nice knockout. He's a rising prospect for Golden Boy. And then Jose Cito, or not Jose Cito, what am I saying? Soto Carras. A lot of people were like, man, you had Glenn Tapia on not long ago on a main event, twice this year on ESPN or ESPN2. And now you got Soto Carras in a main event. Like, shut him down. You know what I mean? But he ended up getting stopped. So, I don't know how many more chances that he'll get. It'll be interesting to see. But Garcia is definitely a guy that we'll see him, as he rises up here. We'll see. Climbs the ladder. We'll see. But he looks the part. He's definitely a hyper kid. Looks the part. Loves to, be proactive as far as getting his name out there. I don't know, man. Be interesting to see. You never know. He could be a guy that looks like he can knock a lot of people out, but then when he steps up, it's issues. Who knows? Maybe it's their best prospect that they have on the whole entire roster at Golden Boy. You never know. So anyway, Juan Carlos Abreu. He beat him. It was the 8th round. 8th round TKO. Abreu's been on a little streak here, I think. And it's been a rough one, too. I mean, go back to Keith Thurman. You beat Berto when Berto was hurt. That was a really fun fight. So Maidana, that was a fun fight. I actually went to that fight. That was a good fight. Ended up getting knocked out, but it was a good two-way fight. Then he beat Aideen, beat Berto in a really fun fight. He's lost to Keith Thurman. Alexander had that draw, which he probably didn't have with Kamagai. Then Kamagai finished him off in the next one. And then he lost to Mauricio Herrera and now Abreu. So I think it's about time for Soto Carras to shut it down. But, to each his own on that one, man. I'm not going to take, money out of the guy's pocket. That's for damn sure. So, I think that about wraps up the recap. I believe so. Let me see to make sure I just reset. I got a couple of text messages. Okay. Somebody had texted me saying something, but then they said it was on their side, so we're okay. We're okay. So, anyway, we are going to get into some news because there is a variety of news stories out there. So we're going to get to some news. Well, also, I'm just going to preview the schedule. Daniel Jacobs versus Luis Arias. I think that is a good fight. It'll be interesting to see. Seems like they're selling I don't know how it's selling. If I look at it, it looks like it's selling decently, considering it's a very competitive close here in November and December in New York City. Holy crap. A lot of stuff in New York City. Which, this time last year was kind of depressing because the Barclays in New York City in general had been on a good run. And then, that insurance stuff really messed them up last year. So it is nice to see, although it may affect ticket sales in general, kind of all of them, you know what I mean? But I like that fight. I think it's a good, it's the first fight under the HBO contract. He's now with Eddie Hearn, is Daniel Jacobs. As we know, Luis Arias is with Rock Nation, but is he still with Rock Nation? Either way, he was with Mayweather. Felt like he wasn't being featured at the weight class compared to some other guys, moved on, yada, yada, yada. I think it's a good fight. Old veteran Walk, a heavyweight fighter Walk, he's taking on Big Baby Miller. Big Baby Miller needs to make kind of a statement there. It sounds like they're going to try to get Big Baby Miller, and Joshua next. And who knows, maybe I know they spoke of Madison Square Garden. I know potentially that Vegas could be calling, but in the Barclays Center, I wonder if the Barclays Center will put up a little bit of dough, whereas maybe the Madison Square Garden, just for this fight, so you can get them right in Brooklyn, New York, Brooklyn. You know, obviously when you live there, it's far distance from each other, you know, but then, maybe not to New Yorkers, but at least it's still be in New York. You know what I mean? I mean, you got a Brooklyn guy fighting in Long Island this weekend, for example. So I could see that happening. And like I said, the Brazil as well. Who knows? Maybe that Dylan White, Eddie Hearn did say that he's more open now to making it a 2-fight package and getting, White in Wilder, having that overseas, which does make a lot of sense. It actually does make a lot of sense. Get the fighter over there, get Joshua over here, and then do the fight. And then, whether it's Wembley or another stadium there, or maybe Vegas comes a calling, because they tend to do that, right? They definitely tend to do that. So I like that Jacobs fight. I think Jacobs will win. I think Arias is a good hard puncher, but I just don't think he's been at this level. And I've seen him struggle on the way up a little bit as a prospect. That's normal, though. No big deal. Arturo Beterbiev, basically just fighting to fight because he needs to stay active and he wants the big fights. And this is a big, well, I shouldn't say a big fight for him because he's going to probably railroad this dude. But it's a big moment because he is on ESPN. I think they've done a pretty good job of actually advertising this. I've seen it a couple times. Actually, on Monday Night Football, I saw a quick ad for it. So that was cool. I mean, that's a big audience on Monday Night Football. But the fight that I'm really looking forward to is Mike Reed against Jose Ramirez. Ramirez is the ticket guy, ticket seller there. I think it's in Fresno, right? And he puts butts in the seats there. He's become a local attraction for sure, but it's a good fight. You got some guys, this is a good fight. I really like this fight, man. This is a good fight. Also, Showbox has a card. I think Udell Evans. Is it Udell Evans? Huh. I can't remember if it's Udell Evans or if it's yeah, I think it's Udell Evans. I believe so. Actually, let me double check. I mean, it's a quadruple header. That's what we do know. And anytime Showbox is going to have a card, unless it just fell apart or something because of injuries or something like that, it's a pretty good chance that I'm going to check it out. Because we all know Showbox is pound for pound the best show for what it is. What it tells you, what it aims to do, it does clearly. So, and I just want to make sure, I'm going to check a schedule. I'm checking the ESPN.com schedule. I think it's the best schedule out there. Luis Rosa against Udell Evans. Udell Evans is the guy that's kind of a hot prospect coming up, and Fortuna changed that. I'll say it. I'll put it that way. He changed that. But anyway, so it's a good fight weekend, I think. I favor Ramirez because I don't know if Reed's going to knock him out, but that's going to be a good fight. I could see watching the fight, right, and then after thinking Reed did enough to win, but since, he's in his hometown and whatnot, we'll see. We'll see if he's able to get that. He may need to knock him down a couple times or hurt him really bad, whatever. But I do favor Ramirez in that one. I think Beterbiev will win via knockout. Daniel Jacobs as well. I think he's actually going to stop Arias late. I want to see how he fights in this fight. Is he going to kind of stay on this mode of fighting smart, trying to land good power shots, or is he going to come forward in this fight? Different style than Golovkin. So I want to see how many mistakes he makes, because he fought a pretty damn good fight. Probably the cleanest fight he's fought. When you're talking about against, it was against Golovkin. So I'm talking about against a higher level of opponent. Obviously, that Quillen knockout was pretty damn good, right? And then also Liam Williams against Liam Smith, the rematch. And I'm going to break this down a little bit later in the show, a little bit more detail. But I liked this fight. Like, I liked it live. I thought it was a really good fight. And I'm looking at my scorecard, and I had Williams up pretty cleanly. I really did. There was, I think it was the right eye, above the right eye, right on the edge of the eye, sliced open, a bad cut. It should have went to the cards, though. Did that fight? I forgot. Now I'm kind of screwed up. I'm looking at my notes from it, and I'm thinking it was a cut. I think it was like, I'm looking at this in the ninth round, about 25 seconds left in that round. There was a headbutt. And that was actually a great round right there. Oh, that's right. What the hell? God, it's been a while. This fight was in April, wasn't it? Something like that. And I know it was supposed to be October 28th, but it had to get pushed back because of Anthony Joshua. Yeah, that's what it was. So at the start of the 10th round, that's where I was kind of messed up. I'm like, I didn't know if it was 10th or 9th or whatever, but there was a blatant headbutt. And now I'm not saying that Smith or anybody was out there, either one of these guys was like going out of his way to like Bradley headbutt you or whatever. But that's what caused the headbutt. Or the cut, I should say. So, Smith won the fight, but it was very controversial. They should have just went to the cards, like I mentioned. For some reason, I got a little mixed up there. Should have just went to the cards, though, man. They really should have. I think that was some nonsense. But because I had Williams winning it, I gave him. I think he was up 6-3, something like that after 9. Somewhere in there. It's a good fight, though. Very good fight. I just thought Williams was sharper. He had a better jab. He was throwing some combinations. He was moving pretty well. Just kind of pot-shotting. Then Smith, by the 5th round, I thought he finally started getting his shots off. Fight really started heating up in the 6th round, though. I thought Williams had the sharper punches in that round, but that was it. There were some close rounds. Even the 7th round was a very close round. Very close round. I thought Williams had some really good uppercuts. Smith, the cut, kept getting his cut checked because it was bleeding pretty heavily. No doubt about it. And the 9th round was another great round, though. Smith just, flurrying. Good stuff. It was a good fight. That's why I'm glad that they're doing a rematch. This fight had to be rematched. And so I'm going to actually go with Liam Williams. Now, if this was fantasy boxing, I probably wouldn't. And by the way, 313, I see you just pressed 1. I'm going to jump on here in just a second. Let you into the fold here. CT, see if he'll call back as well. There's CT as well. So we're going to get to CT and then 313. So we'll get you guys in here in just a moment. So speaking of Lipinets, right? Sergey Lipinets, it sounds like for March, because he's got the IBF belt now, right? And it sounds like Adrian Broner is being groomed. It sounds like for March, Adrian Broner and Sergey Lipinets, which I like that fight. Lipinets is very capable of a stick and move. And that kind of sets up nice for a good style fight because we know Broner likes to come forward and try to walk a guy down. We'll see if he could do that. But I'm not saying it's done, but it sounds like it's going that way. Since we last spoke from last Wednesday, Errol Spence and Lamont Peterson, we already knew was going to happen, but it got finalized for January 20th on Showtime at the Barclays Center. And that's kind of what we were talking about the last week or two, saying maybe they're just holding off on this because it's going to be at the Barclays and there's no point in announcing this fight and starting to sell tickets for it when you're still trying to, sell tickets up to that Friday and Saturday night last weekend. Plus there was a show in October as well. So that's cool. I like that fight a lot. It's a good fight. Just a good fight. I'm not saying it's just, it's the hardest fight out there, but it's a good fight. Peterson's a solid dude, and it's a great first defense, that's for sure. So there's two other things I'm going to talk about. Then I'm going to get to CT. Then I'm going to get 313. It sounds like the Jorge Linares, we kind of felt like it wasn't going to happen anyway, right? But we now know for sure that Linares and Garcia's they're not going to fight in January or next. They're not going to fight. It was a 50-50 deal that Eric Gomez and Golden Boy put on the table. They said no ties, no options, no nothing, but it is a 50-50 split. And that would have been in January. Sounds like Mikey, well, it doesn't sound like it. He did. He actually turned down the offer, and he said that him and Gomez left on good terms like they have in the last couple of weeks. They left on good terms, and they may look for that to be a summer fight in L.A. So we'll see if that happens. Sounds like the reason why Mikey said, and this has been on BoxingScene.com, it's been Dan Raphael as well. It sounds like, quoted from Mikey, he said, I got a better offer, basically. Said it was a good offer, and thanks, and hey, maybe in the next fight we'll do this. But it sounds like he's going to take the unification. So he had two unification fights in front of him, either Linares or Robert Easter Jr. Now, we don't have any finalized thing on this, but it sounds like they were looking at that January 27th. So that's what it sounds like. He's going to fight January. And it sounds like it's Easter Jr. He said it's a better offer, meaning obviously more money, that he's going to get to fight Easter Jr. Now, that's what we think it's Easter Jr. It's not a guarantee, I guess, right? But at 140, what fight are you going to match up that it's going to be better money? I don't know. There's really not a lot of names there now. I mean, there is with Broner, but he already fought him. So we'll see how that works out. But for right now, not a big – I wasn't totally thinking that for sure it was going to get done anyway. You know what I mean? It did kind of seem like they may revisit it. Hopefully they revisit it, though, because that would be nice to get a huge unification, by summer. That would be great to get that stuff lined up. But Garcia still has to go through Easter Jr. I, for one, think the Easter Jr. Linares fight, although it's a different style, I think they're somewhat equal as far as challenging. It's different challenges that both guys bring, but I don't think they're that far off. I like Linares a lot, but let's be honest, he doesn't have a ton of solid wins. That's not to say, Easter Jr. does per se. But then again, considering he just was the champ, he's made, good work in a short amount of time. Two of his last three of his last four guys were pretty tough. You know what I mean? Shavakov and Comey. And so I'm okay with it because it's, if it is in fact a unification fight, then I'm okay with it because then it's like, well, it's not necessarily a better fight. And hey, if you're going to make more money, hopefully, like I said, they can go back to it. One more thing, then I'm going to go CT in 313. So, Alvarez, what is it, Elderly or Elder? I forgot. But Alvarez, dude who's been trying to fight Stevenson for quite some time. This fight was done for December, but then a bigger fight, Saunders and BJ Saunders kind of pushed this out, right? So Lemieux and Saunders now are going to fight on that date. And then they figured, okay, we're going to make this Stevenson-Alvarez fight in January. Let him finally get his mandatory. Well, it doesn't look like he's going to get his shot. The WBC, WBA, kind of a mix of all sorts of stuff. You know, as we know, Badou Jack dropped the belt that would have made him fight Bivol next. Well, obviously, that's not a big fight at the moment. It's a big fight, but not money-wise compared to a Stevenson fight, let's say. So, as it turns out, now this isn't official, but based off, I think it's going to happen. Let's put it that way. Based off Badou Jack saying he's got an announcement soon, the WBA, Gilberto Mendez saying stuff. So, I mean, it sounds like it's all about just a matter of time. Anyway, sounds like in January, I don't know if that's true, it's going to be January, February, or whatever, Adonis Stevenson will fight Badou Jack. And I don't know if they're going to say, well, we actually made him a special champion, right? And so he dropped the regular belt, but we made him the special champ. So it's actually going to be unification. So it's going to be the WBA and WBC. I don't know exactly how this stuff is going to play out. But all I know is Alvarez is not going to get Stevenson, it sounds like. Sounds like it's going to be Stevenson and Badou Jack, which that's a great fight for both of them. I wouldn't complain either way because I'd much rather see Badou Jack taking on Stevenson than I would Alvarez. Now, here's the thing, though. Alvarez, he basically would have to fight Bivol, the guy who just fought, right? And if he beat him, if he wins the fight, he is guaranteed in contract, not just some, WBC statement, but an actual in contract, he would get $1 million and a chance to fight Stevenson versus Jack winner. If he doesn't win the fight, that $1 million is gone. So it kind of sucks for Alvarez. Now, if he beats Bivol, then it's a great win for him. And they're probably closer on each other's level right there, those two. Whereas Badou Jack and Stevenson a little bit older. It kind of makes sense the way they match them up. It does suck for Alvarez, though, if he can't beat Bivol, because then it's like, oh, well, I guess I'm not getting the winner. But then again, he does get a chance for a title belt, which is what he wants too. So welcome to the beautiful world of the alphabetical soup titles. The IBF, the WBC, the WBA, the WBO with Bob only, right? Everybody, we be crooks. That's the WBC. I mean, there's all sorts of nicknames to this, but that's just a little bit of news. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and shut it down on the live stream YouTube. There is a link. If you're listening to it live right now, you can call 646-381-4990, or you can use the link inside. Now, if you're listening to this on archive, right, it's a couple days later than what today is, Wednesday, then you can just use that link and listen to the whole episode. So I'm going to shut it down right now, the YouTube broadcast.